Hi guys, it's me. I am finally getting to do a yogi video for you guys. So sorry it took me so long. It's kind of like a weird setup in here to try to figure out how I can make sure that you guys can actually see everything that I'm doing. Um, so that being said, here's how I make yogis. I'm sure there's other ways to do this. This is how I do it. Doesn't mean it's the best way or the most efficient way, but this way works for me. So I always use a double boiler. I already got the water heating up. And so if you've never used a double boiler before, this is what I'm talking about. It's just this little insert that goes onto the edge of your saucepan here. So in the saucepan, I have it filled up not quite halfway with water. And what you want to do is you want to put it on like a medium low, medium heat, because you want the steam to transfer heat into this little insert. But you don't want it rapidly boiling because then, water will get inside and we don't want that. So this is starting to bubble up a little bit. I'm going to give it just a little more time to start heating. So these are the kind of white baking chips that I use. Any kind of white baking chip should be fine. Just check and make sure that you don't actually have white chocolate. You don't want any cocoa or cocoa oil, anything like that in your baking chips that you're using. So these Nestle white chips, these have like palm kernel oil and palm oil and I don't know. No chocolate. That's what we care about. For flavoring, I am using, see if you can see it, it's Loran brand hard candy oils. This is cherry flavor. Some of the flavorings have a color to them like this one, some of them don't. As far as adding any additional coloring to the yogis, you can. I know a lot of people do. Personally, I don't. It's just seems kind of unnecessary. I mean, they don't really care what color they are. They just want their cherry yogis. You know what I mean? So, if you wanted to add coloring, then you could. I'm also going to make this batch with some yogurt powder. This is the brand that I use. This is also, like I have the sample size bags of yogurt powder available for you guys. And it comes directly out of this container. This is the kind that I use. It's just dehydrated yogurt powder. So a lot of the yogi chips that you see around, if they say they contain real yogurt and they don't have to be stored in a fridge or a refrigerator, then this is what they've got in there. If you make yogis using actual, out of the fridge yogurt, you can do that, but you have to freeze them and then they melt very quickly. So you can't store them like in a jar. So that's the yogurt powder. Alright, so this is starting to heat up pretty good now. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some baking chips, and I'm putting them into the insert. And guys, I'm going to apologize right now. I'm terrible about like actually measuring things. I'm really bad. I'm like, it's about a handful of this and a spoonful of that. So I apologize ahead of time. This little container, I've got, I don't know, a couple good sized handfuls in there. And add a few more. You just don't want to put so many in there that you can't stir it. Alright, so well, there we go. This is just like a plain rubber spatula. And on these inserts, this one that I have, I've never had any trouble with the handle getting too hot, you know, to where I can't grab onto it. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible, so if it's your first time using a new insert, just, you know, be aware of that. It's very possible that the heat could transfer all the way into the handle, and that would not be good. Alright, so I'm just kind of mushing these down. I'll show you guys here in a second. They're starting to get melty now. So you can see white baking chips are starting to melt. So we're just going to let that go. I like the silicone spatulas that are really flexible because you can scrape really easily. Okay, starting to get melty. I've got my heat, I have my heat on 5. I'm going to go ahead and turn it up to 6. And that's just because it's not making any big bubbles at all at 5. I don't know if 6 is going to be too high. I might have to turn it back down. But we'll give it a shot. Alright. So the reason that I like heating the chocolate in a double boiler rather than the microwave is because the microwave will melt it, but it loses the heat from the microwave a lot faster. So you have a lot less time to be able to work with it. And I say chocolate, but we all understand these are white baking chips. There's no chocolate in them. It's just easier for me to say chocolate or white chocolate than to say baking chips and white baking chips over and over again. Alright. So that's getting pretty smooth now. It's just a lot of time and patience and a lot of stirring. Alright, so you can see now it's melted, but it's more of like this chunky consistency. It's still really globby, so we need to let it heat up some more. Alright, so I'm going to let that sit and heat up for a little while. Let it get nice and melty. This is the fun part, sitting here waiting. Okay, I tell you what. So while these are melting, I'm going to go ahead and cut the feed because this is totally boring. So I'm just going to wait and I will be back. Hey guys, okay, so this is getting pretty melty now. So at this point, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and add some of your yogurt powder. If you want, you don't have to by any means. And I just kind of eyeball it. I use these little plastic spoons that I got. They're like for feeding babies, but they work great. So I just put a couple spoonfuls in there. The packets that I sell, those are a ½ ounce worth. And that much yogurt powder will be good for at least twice the amount that I'm doing here. You just want to make sure that it will stir in really nice and that the chocolate still stays smooth. Alright. So now I've got that all mixed in together, and you can see how nice and smooth and creamy it is. Alright. So now we're going to take some of our flavoring. Approach with caution. This stuff is like insanely strong. Like way more strong than any kind of extract that you would ever use. I would advise you to not try this by itself because I have, and it is horrible because it is so concentrated. It literally just takes a couple of drops to make a batch. So, let's see. Have a little eyedropper. And literally just like a couple drops. Alright, now I'm going to get that all mixed in there really nice. You can smell the flavoring like immediately. The heat really brings it out. You'll notice, even though that's red, it's not going to dye your chocolate here. If you put enough in there to dye your chocolate, man, that's going to be some really cherry flavored stuff. Turn this heat down just a little bit. Okay. Alright. And then what I do to see if it's good, I just taste some. And I can definitely taste the cherry in there. I put 2 drops. I think that's good enough. You could probably go another drop for this amount and not like have it be overkill. But I can definitely taste it in there. So I'm going to call that good. So now we have, it's really nice. You can see that it's really nice and smooth. There's no chunks in it, which is good. If you do happen to put too much yogurt powder in there, it'll get real chunky looking. And then you can just add some more baking chips to kind of even that out if you need to. Alright, so now what I'm going to do You can do this a lot of different ways. I have a lot of these little silicone mats. You can use these to make different shapes. If you want to. So I'm literally just going to get some of that and just spoon it in there. You know, obviously you want to fill these all the way up because they're like, you know, really deep. But you can just put some in there. It's about halfway maybe. I don't know. So we'll do a couple of these. And again, this is really just for our benefit because I promise you they could care less what these look like. Oh, all right. So that's a way to do that. Another thing that you can do, you can use like this is a silicone icing bag. I got this on Amazon. I love Amazon. This is like a reusable icing bag. And I've got just like a wide round tip to use with it. Alright, so that goes down inside the bag, and then this is like a little collar lock thing, I don't know. You can accomplish the same thing using just like a Ziploc bag and just cutting the corner off of it. But you know, this is pretty warm, so you want to be careful not to burn your hands. Alright. I'm trying to remember that I need to show you guys what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just going to get some of this. And just put it in there. And then I have a silicone baking mat here. If you can see that. It's like a cookie mat is what it is, but it's silicone. You can also just use like wax paper. So now I'm just going to work that chocolate down. Remember, it's hot. The silicone does help, but I'm just going to, okay, where's my camera? There we go. Just squeeze and just make a little dollop. So, I don't know. Hopefully you can see that okay. Again, don't worry too much about what your shapes look like because I promise you they don't care. So now I'm just going to go ahead and turn my heat off, number one. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this out of here. I'm just working it down to the end. Again, you can do the same thing with a Ziploc bag. The only thing with the Ziploc bag is that you're probably going to want to put some kind of a, what are they called? Like an oven mitt or something like that on, because even through the silicone, this is pretty hot. Now I'm just going to make the rest of these here. You can also use this to fill up your little tray containers. Here's a fun one that I have, Han Solo and Frozen in Carbonite. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So you can just take that and just squeeze it in there like that. These I'll obviously break into like, 2 or 3 pieces. So, a lot of people think that they're doing something wrong because they don't get the really like super liquidy, like, chocolate syrup type chocolate. And that's okay. That's not what you want. That would make it really difficult to work with, and you wouldn't be able to make little drops and stuff like that with it, you know what I mean? So just as long as you have a smooth consistency, you're good. Now, as far as letting these cool, we got all our little mini Han Solos there. You can either just let these sit out on the counter to cool. If you are very impatient like me, you can put them in the freezer to help them harden up. It's really up to you. And then after they've set up and hardened, then you just store them the same way that you would any other, oh, there we go, any other yogis that you have that you buy from other vendors or whatever. So thank you for watching. I hope it helps. My babies love these. That's all that really matters to me. So if you have any questions about anything, then shoot me a message. Let me know. You guys know that I always try to get back to you as soon as I can. So never hesitate. I'm always around. So thank you so much. You guys are the best. See you next time.